pleasing is one of those habits that doesn't look so bad on the surface, but if it goes unchecked for too long, it can do some serious damage to your confidence and your self esteem. Not only that, it can also damage your romantic relationships, your social life, and even have some negative impacts on your career. This is something I really used to struggle with. I felt like I had to act a certain way and I couldn't speak up about what I needed. I couldn't really truly be myself because I was worried about fitting in. I was worried about, well, what if I say something out of line and I get rejected or people like me less? And I used to be super preoccupied with just making sure that other people like me. And so it's something that I've worked on over the last few years, trying to find a balance between having people like me and being my genuine, authentic self. And since I've stopped some of the habits that I'm going to talk about later in this video, I've become way more confident in my social interactions with people, in my romantic relationships, at work, speaking up for what I need. And not only have I become more confident, my relationships with those people have become way stronger because I can show up authentically and I can speak up for what I want. And that actually strengthens the relationship because instead of just hiding behind a facade of who I'm pretending to be, I'm being genuine and I'm connecting with people on a more genuine level. So anyway, I'm going to share with you the 10 signs that you might be people pleasing. And by the way, if this is something that you resonate with, be sure to stick around to the end of the video if you want to learn how to overcome those 10 symptoms that you might be people pleasing, because I have a little freebie that I'm giving away. Now, the first sign that you might be a people pleaser is that you are constantly worried about what other people think about you. And I'm going to preface this by saying we human beings are social creatures. We are wired to want to be part of groups. It's part of our survival instinct to be part of a group, to be accepted. So this is natural. It's normal to want people to like you. I'm not saying you shouldn't care at all about whether people like you, but people pleasers take this to an extreme. They're so preoccupied with making sure that other people like them, making other people happy, that it's the main driving factor of their thoughts and their behaviors. People pleasers often feel like they have to be on all the time. Like they can't look like they're sad or they're frustrated. They have to be happy all the time. They have to kind of present as happy or as content or as chill or cool all the time in order to be liked. On the flip side, people with high self-esteem still care about what people think about them. They still care about getting along with others. They still want people to like them, but it's not crippling like it is for people pleasers. The thought process is, yeah, it'd be great if people liked me. It'd be great if I could get along with everybody, but I'm gonna be my genuine, authentic self and speak up for what I need. And if that rubs some people the wrong way or ruffles some feathers, I can live with that. In other words, people with high self-esteem still care what others think, but not to the extent that it prevents them from being their true authentic self. The second sign that you might be people pleasing is that you're always trying to make people happy or solve their problems. This is one of those things that the behavior itself isn't bad, it's the intent behind the behavior. And you're gonna hear me saying that quite a bit in this video because it's really not any of the behaviors standing alone that make for a people pleaser, it's the intent behind the behavior. And that intent is needing validation. So it's one thing to want to help other people and to be really giving because you enjoy it, because you enjoy giving to other people. But people pleasers tend to want to make other people happy and help them with it, fix their problems because they need validation. They feel like they have to earn affection. They feel like they have to earn acceptance. So they do all these things for people because otherwise they don't feel validated. Helping people isn't bad. Making people happy isn't bad. The point here is the intention. The intention is having this like desperate need to be liked. So let's give a couple examples just to help solidify this. Your grandma, like the quintessential like white-haired grandma, baking you cookies when you come over, doting on you, she's probably not a people pleaser, okay? Grandma's lived through way too many wars and seen way too much bullshit in the world to care about like whether or not you like her. She just gives because it makes her feel good. It's like she just loves baking cookies and like feeding her grandkids. It just makes her feel good. Grandma's not people pleasing just because she's doting on you. And here's another example, hosting a party. Some people love hosting parties. They love taking care of other people. They love putting together cheese plates and making sure that everybody's got a good drink in hand and like creating an atmosphere. It's like something that really brings them joy. So if that's the case for you, hell yeah, go host parties and stuff. But if you're hosting parties because you feel like you have to, and if it stresses you out, and if you're running around making sure that everybody's happy, making sure that, you know, all the drinks are refilled and all the trash is thrown out because you're worried that if somebody is having a bad time that they're gonna like you less, that's when it becomes a problem. Helping people isn't bad. Helping people because you feel like you need to in order to earn their affection, problematic. The next sign that you might be people pleasing is that you go above and beyond for others, but you find that others rarely reciprocate. If you find that you're pulling all the weight in a relationship, whether that's a romantic relationship or a friendship or dating or whatever, if you feel like you're pulling all the weight in a relationship and you're giving, 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 but you're not getting much in return, and you're kind of getting frustrated because you go above and beyond for others, but they're not reciprocating, that's a sign that you're probably a people pleaser because you struggle to speak up for what you need and to ask for what you need. This is especially true if you find that people often take advantage of your kindness, or if you find yourself attracting the same type of person who tends to take advantage of you. And that leads us to the fourth sign of people pleasing, which is you're afraid to ask for what you want or need. People pleasers take on more than their fair share of work, whether that's in a relationship or that's in their work or in a friendship or whatever setting, because they're afraid to ask for what it is that they actually need. They often downplay or ignore issues or things that bother them because they're so afraid of creating conflict. They're worried that if I acknowledge that there's a problem going on, then it'll lead to disagreement, and then I'm not going to get that sense of external validation from somebody being happy all the time. Some examples of this is working extra long hours to try to meet an unreasonable deadline at work because you're afraid of speaking up and saying, you know what, this actually can't be done in that amount of time. Another example of this is settling or agreeing to date somebody casually when what you really want is a serious relationship, because you're worried that if you suggest taking things to the next stage of seriousness or of a relationship, that the person's gonna reject you or not like you, or you're gonna be too needy. This could also look like taking on extra work around the house, doing more than your fair share of chores, or picking up the slack for other people, whether that's your partner that you live with or your roommates, because you're afraid to speak up about, hey, you're not pulling your weight. Now look, you've got to make some compromises in life. I'm not saying that you're always going to get what you want if you're totally confident. That's not the point here. But the problem is people pleasers don't even give themselves a chance to be heard or a chance to get what they want because they're so afraid of stirring up conflict. The next sign that you might be a people pleaser is that you can't say no. Now, dealing with peer pressure is something that's difficult for everyone. Like I said, we're social creatures. We're wired to get along with everybody and try to want to be part of the group. So everybody struggles with peer pressure to a certain extent. But it's especially hard for people pleasers to say no because they're so afraid of disagreeing or creating some sort of conflict in whatever relationship that they're in. It's natural and normal for people to disagree with each other, to have different interests, to have different opinions, to have different wants and needs, but people pleasers really, really struggle with saying no to what other people want. They're so preoccupied with keeping the peace, with making sure everybody's happy, with giving people this perception that they're cool and chill, that they often dismiss their own needs in favor of what other people want. In your social life, this might look like spending money on activities that you don't actually really enjoy because you're afraid of saying no to somebody. At work, this might look like taking on extra tasks or projects that don't really align with your long-term goals in your career because you're afraid of saying no to your boss or of letting them know what you actually want. The next sign that you're a people pleaser is that you overcommit. People pleasers really struggle with saying no, so they often find themselves stretched thin because they're saying yes to so many different plans and responsibilities. So as a result, they find that they don't have enough time to recover, or they feel like they're always burned out, or they feel like they don't have enough time for their own interests or hobbies. And remember, the intent matters here. If you are stretched thin and if you overcommit because you're just so excited about everything that you're signing up for, that's one thing. That's a time management, stress management thing. That's a different issue. When overcommitting is a sign of people pleasing is when you are committing to all these plans and responsibilities, not because you want to do them or because they bring you joy, but because you're afraid of disappointing other people by saying no. The next sign that you might be a people pleaser is a pretty telltale one, and that is that you avoid conflict at pretty much all cost. Now, conflict is one of those things that any therapist or psychologist will tell you it's a natural part of living with other people, of interacting with other people. Everybody has different needs and interests and interpretations and worldviews, and so conflict is just kind of a natural thing that happens when people interact with each other. And it's really important to address the conflict so that you can work through it. Not nobody likes conflict, but people pleasers avoid it at all possible cost, to the extent that they are not even acknowledging that something's bothering. They're constantly sweeping something under the rug, or they're like tricking themselves into thinking that, oh no, I'm fine with it. It's not really bothering me. It's not that big of a deal. I don't need to bring it up. Or they're very aware of the issue, but they have so much anxiety about bringing up the conflict that they still manage to avoid it altogether. And this is really dangerous. We know that sweeping things under the rug doesn't work. We know that bottling up your emotions doesn't work. Why? Because you either end up exploding at the other person completely randomly and like laying it all out on them and then feeling really guilty because you just uncontrollably exploded on them, or you end up really burying your feelings for so long that you just constantly have to deal with anxiety, and then you end up being really resentful of the other person. Either way, whether you explode or you end up carrying it to your grave and just becoming super bitter and resentful, the damage is done on the relationship. The next sign that you might be a people pleaser is that you have a strong urge to agree with what people say, even when you don't actually agree with them. Now, we all occasionally find ourselves nodding along to something and then realizing, oh, wait, I don't actually agree. And that's because we're social creatures. We're wired to want to agree with people. We're wired to want to get along with people. And it sometimes takes us a second to realize that, oh, actually, this person is saying something that I don't really agree with. Maybe I should stop nodding. People pleasers find themselves in this situation very, very often. And even when they realize that they don't agree, they continue to nod along because they're so afraid of speaking up for what they actually think or for disagreeing. People pleasers tend to keep their thoughts to themselves when they disagree with somebody because they can't imagine that disagreeing would lead to anything but dramatic conflict and feeling bad about themselves. And their self-worth is so tied to other people liking them that it's not worth risking upsetting the other person just to voice your own opinion. Another sign of people pleasing is that you're quick to doubt or second guess yourself. Now, this is one of those things that isn't bad on its own, but people pleasers take it to an extreme. People who have a healthy sense of confidence and self-esteem, they question their own thinking. They are able to admit when they're wrong, and they're open to new ideas, and they're open to changing their minds about things. And when it comes to conflict, people with high self-esteem know when to stand their ground and when to question themselves. But people pleasers tend to default to the latter. They tend to question themselves and second guess themselves. So they might say something, and then when the other person disagrees, they immediately start backpedaling and like second guessing themselves and walking back their statement. When you're not confident, when you have a low sense of self-esteem, when you're feeling insecure, it's that much easier to make you second guess yourself because you're already unsure about yourself. So it doesn't take a whole lot to make you go, oh, maybe I am overreacting. Oh, maybe I am being needy. Again, healthy skepticism and openness to new ideas, great. Constantly undermining and questioning yourself, not so much. Another more subtle symptom of people pleasing is that you don't have any preferences. Like, ever. People pleasers are often defer to other people to make decisions on their behalf because they're so preoccupied with coming off as chill and go with the flow and really like agreeable and making sure that like keeping the peace. So when it comes to group decisions, they often end up deferring to other people and letting other people make decisions for them. That's either because they're not sharing their own preferences or because they're so used to deferring to other people that they don't even realize that they have their own preferences. Now, I'm not saying you always have to have an opinion on everything. You should always care about everything. We don't need to take it to that extreme. There are some situations in which you truly don't care and you truly don't have a preference. Like if we're picking a place for dinner, you might not really care if you're getting Chinese or Thai food. You just want food because you're hungry. You don't have to care about everything all the time. But everyone has some sort of preference in life. If you, more often than not, find yourself saying things like, I don't really care, it's up to you, I don't really have a preference, what do you want? You pick. Then chances are you're probably downplaying your own needs because you're really worried about fitting in and making sure that other people are happy. Now, if these symptoms of people pleasing have resonated with you and you find yourself going, well, now what? How do I stop? How do I overcome these symptoms? Be sure to download my free guide on how to stop people pleasing. I just released it. I'm super pumped about it. It's 10 strategies for how to speak up for yourself and become more confident and improve the relationships with the people in your life. I'm going to put the link in the description and also in the comments below. Be sure to check it out. I'm super pumped about it. And let me know in the comments below which of these 10 signs resonated with you the most. I hope this video was helpful and I'll see you in the next one.